Good afternoon, colleagues. I think for me, it's even more of a chase and a challenge than what Prof. Fielding said, prior to all the other speakers. But I think I've sort of been saved by the bell, so to speak, because what I'm going to present, although it's quite a bit technical, the benefit is in the program booklet. We've put just a short half-pager with the diagram, with the topology. On page 8. So it might feel like death by sprint through a topology, but we felt it good to share with you what is the scholarship of engagement topology. Myself and Prof. Daniels, we've been working on this for yonks, actually, I think 2014, 15, and every time we sort of grab this table and then move on it. And I've also uploaded the presentation on the web blog, so feel free to download it. It's in the open source community, and so you can use it as you see fit. So today, I just want to take us quickly through what is community engagement and how is it, in other words, scholarship. So we've heard since yesterday, and a lot of us have seen even with the Dean from CHS, Prof. Rhoda, she referred to the different scholarships, and Prof. Daniels presented on the scholarship model. And so if we look at it, one very critical aspect of scholarship of engagement is that it's a process that's evolution and transformation. So it's not just transferring of information from one to another. So it also links to what Prof. Levac mentioned yesterday with mode 1 to mode 2. And so if we look at higher education and say, so what is engagement? Then there's 3 general distinguishing elements. The first one is it is definitely scholarly, and I think Prof. Fielding touched very well on it, and Prof. Jones in his keynote was giving us some great examples. So it's both an act and it's also a process. And as our keynote speaker linked us to, how do we make sure it's reciprocal? The second one is that it cuts across the mission of all 3 core functions. So the core functions, we spoke a lot about it yesterday and we'll yell it all the time. It's about teaching, it's about research, and it's about what we call service, or what the term is later changed to engagement. And then lastly, this very issue of how is it reciprocal and how is it mutually beneficial? How do we get it right? And Prof. Fielding indicated in his presentation maybe a bit of movement of where the impact block should be. And I like what Mr. Illis now indicated on how does the NRF see it and how does policy now begin to work for us. So if we look at these elements and we then say, right, how do we action the model? How do we action the scholarship of engagement model? And how do we sort of get into this motion of how do I track, monitor, and evaluate, in other words, my impact, my scholarship impact? And so, yeah, hold your horses, because I'm going to take you through something that's going to look quite wild on the screen, but I'm going to take you very briefly to how to read the topology. And then I invite you to please, through the blog, through emails, post questions, ask us about it, contact the unit, because the scholarship of engagement topology will highlight community of engagement types. It will show how you can bring in the national development plans or the national drivers, even if you're from a different country, and how you bring in the sustainable development goals, and how do you look at what is sort of your key focus area and the different community types that we spoke about yesterday. So this topology, in other words, takes in Boyer's model of scholarships, but we've also taken in Button's community types, or community engagement types, so to speak, and we've added a few. So right here at the top, you will see it starts with the different community engagement types. So there's a technical engagement, we get a cultural engagement, we get a political engagement, economic engagement. And so if we say, right, that's the engagement that we have, then we need to have the different focus areas, as I've mentioned, what drives me for each type of engagement, who's the community, we spoke about it, communities of academic scholars, student communities, business, industry, civil society. Boyers scholarship, so what type of the scholarships is it? Who's the partners that I take on board? How does it align with the National Development Plan Vision 2030 of South Africa? And how does it align with the Sustainable Development Goals? So I'm just briefly going to go through this for the sake of time so that we make up time for all of you. And so if we look at technical engagement, the first thing we will say is, right, so my key focus is here to be pedagogical. And how effective is that? And so I will see it's about being a better teacher and being better at learning. And so Prof. Lebak always refers to learning and teaching, not teaching and learning. And it's because the more we make sure we engage and the more we make our research and our connections and partnerships relevant, the better we become even in our classrooms with our student community. So who's the main community in this technical engagement? Is academia, the academic scholars and the students. And so what Boyers scholarship is the most relevant here? The scholarship of theory and practice. But who do we need to partner with? Because as academics and students, we can have these discussions and we can see how do I apply things from theory into practice. But I need public service, I need private service, I need NGOs, community-based organizations. So I need very many people involved if I want to influence my teaching to be applicable. And it links to graduate attributes, work readiness, etc. And then we've indicated which of the 15 chapters of the National Development Plan, although it cuts across, but sort of the main ones, and which of all the Sustainable Development Goals can one actually touch on. So colleagues, if you go through the process by each one of them, the cultural one, I've highlighted it sort of slightly in a different color so that you can cut across and see how it is to get all these different scholarships together. You will see that the idea is actually to think of an intervention or innovation approach, an engagement with partners, a project, a research study, a teaching and learning approach. So it's actually to try and touch on each one of these types of engagements. And so that I can touch also through all Boyers' different scholarships, because only then can I actually claim scholarship of engagement. Otherwise, I can only claim scholarship of theory or scholarship of integration or scholarship of innovation. So this is in a nutshell, and we want you to sort of look at it, read a bit on page 8 about it, although that's also just short. Think about it. Say, can this work? How will it work? Is it something that can help me as a tool beforehand to sort of say, how is my initiative going to make a difference? Mr. Ellis has now indicated about an NRF call that comes out. And so the NRF started a few years ago to say, you must indicate what will be your community engagement. How does this align with national and international drivers? So this is why the typology can help a bit with it. So I leave you with the following. A scholarship should be reflected and it should show in all the strategic decisions of universities. And it must be visible in all our strategic partnerships, whether it's between academic and students, whether it's between students and communities. It needs to show, it needs to cut across, as Prof. Lebak also indicated, it needs to be infused. We mustn't see scholarship of engagement as something separate from the 3 core functions. And it must be professional, knowledgeable, and well organized. So we mustn't tone it down and say, no, this is just something other. It's just something by the way. No. If I apply this typology, I can actually start thinking of monitoring and evaluation systems, of developing indicators. Those of you who know me, that's my first love. I just love to do impact studies and have theory-driven, smart indicator processes. And so I think universities can, if we start applying something like this, we can develop our indicators beforehand. That block of impact can move to the beginning during the planning, because we can plan with targets in mind that we broadly consulted in a reciprocal manner with our client, being whoever the specific community is that we partner with, and so that we in the end can prove the social impact, or in America, we refer to it as broader impacts. How do we prove the footprint? And so I leave you just with a few points that you can do a quick brainstorming exercise after today or tonight. Think of the work, your work environment. Say to yourself, my work environment and what I would like to do. Which relevant divisions or departments, schools, units, faculties, etc., departments can link with this initiative of mine? Looking now at the topology. Then think of my initiative that I want to investigate or want to use for engagement, and say, if I do this, what will it contribute? And to which communities? So now we think, is it student? Is it business? Is it NGO sector? Is it public sector? Remember, we try and aim for all, but it's not always that possible for. And then I take my topology and I start plotting my initiative. And I aim to see, can I do it for all the scholarships? Can I make my project touch on all of this? Once I've plotted that, I say to myself, good, so which of my sustainable development goals moves the best with which national development plan chapters? We've actually got a wheel for that I didn't include in this presentation. And then I can say, right, if I can think about my own country's programs and objectives now, which of those initiatives will benefit first and foremost primary, secondary, and so forth in this innovative process or in this engagement that I want to do? And once I've done that, colleagues, last but not least, I just dot this down, and there we go. There I have my initial idea. And this process you can do as a quick brainstorm, sort of get that conceptual idea, then engage. Now you know who you should contact on campus, off campus, in private sector, with government, without government, who internationally, who not nationally. And so you know which partners to bring around the table and then say, let's brainstorm together. Let's hear if this will be significant. Is it something that the community we are approaching will really benefit? So that's it from me. Thank you, Program Director. I hope I made good time and that everybody is not now more confused after having seen a topology in 3 minutes flat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. We won't talk about the time, but thank you. I just want to take a moment to thank all our speakers and panelists for today. It's really been some thought-provoking inputs that have come from your side. We are way over the question and answer session, but I wanted to afford you an opportunity. If there's anybody who has any questions, Dr. Hart, do we still, I see you as a virtual a video. Would we be able to take a few questions if there is? I've not seen anybody's hand up, nor have I seen any questions in the chat.
Yes, the virtual videos are the links that we share via the website blog, where people can download. And then I've shared right at the beginning of the session, I'll put it in the chat now again at the bottom, later on chats, because some of our participants joined us later as they come in and out from class and other meetings. Professor Levac launched the second Scholarship of Engagement edition. Prof. Daniels mentioned that it would be launched this week. And so I will share that link also now where people can look at it. And so it's a very nice electronic book that you can page through. And then via the website, Paul has also, that will present tomorrow, Miss Paul September Brown. She has also shared some links on how you can access the Scholarship of Engagement database, so that you can see all the different projects that's been captured. And of course, what the deans even presented yesterday. So we will for time not show the video, but share links for people to go and watch at their own time.